Hello and welcome to another video. This time we're gonna make a nacho plate, and for that we are gonna make our homemade tomato salsa and an own guacamole. So let's get started. So first off, for the salsa, I'm gonna cut off some spring onions. Like, I'm gonna use the most white parts of the spring onions. Everything that is not beautiful, we can throw in there as well. So just peel it off and use whatever you would like. So this part, these parts, this, and that's about it. So what we're gonna do with that, we're gonna just chop it roughly. It just doesn't need to be precise because it will go in the salsa anyway. And so how are we going to make the salsa? Well, that's a good question. What we're going to do is fried onion and tomato and the hearts of tomatoes. We're going to fry those, and then half of the tomatoes normal tomatoes we fry as well for a nice deep flavor, and then we add the hearts for a nice caramel, and then the onion will give a little bit sweetness to it, while the other half of the tomatoes will be in the blender without any roasting. So you have like a 50-50 flavor profile going on. For this part, for the salsa, this might take a while because we need to do this on a low heat. So it is wise to start with this while you do everything else. So just don't need to be fine, just as you can see, this onion is not great. Up, take it out, just add it to the pan. Now the onion is mainly for like adding a base flavor. Without the onion it wouldn't be as nice. So just add like one onion is enough. You don't need to do much with it. And besides that, we're gonna add garlic. And don't be shy with garlic. I would say 3 cloves. For a small amount is nice enough. You can always add more if you want, but I don't want an overwhelming garlic flavor. It needs to be there because it's nice. The sweetness, the depth add a lot of niceness to it. And again, just chop this roughly as well. Like, you don't need to be very precise because you're gonna blend this anyway. So while I was chopping it, I was adding it straight in the pan and just now turn it on, low heat, or you can start on high, but you need to turn it down very quickly. This is a process that can take very long. So just add a little bit of oil. Already add some salt. Sugar you don't need to add because that comes from the tomatoes. A little bit of pepper. And grab already a spoon. Like, mix it up nicely. And keep an eye on it. The important part of keeping an eye on this part is that it just doesn't burn. So like, you just keep it going. As soon as you hear it sizzling, that it's frying, you turn off the heat, put it on low, and just let it go there for a long time. Add a little bit more oil if needed, like, oh, don't be shy. And just now let it be. So, as you can see, it starts to fry a little bit. Just turn it around, put it on low. Not too low that it stops frying, just low enough that it keeps on going. So next up, tomatoes. Cut them in half, cut them in a quarter. If you want, you can do it another time, but main part is that this comes out. And we're gonna throw that later on with the onions. This part, we're gonna save. Half of the tomatoes that you're gonna cut will be going in with the onions as well. And the other part will, the other half will go in the blender with the mix without being roasted, so that it has this nice fresh flavor to it. If you want, you can use a knife. Oh, it goes a little bit faster if you prefer that. Now, tomato has a lot of liquid in it as it is, and well, it is a good reason to wait by adding the tomato once most of the liquid of the onion is out as well. Onion doesn't have as much caramel, so it will be not as much liquid inside it, so it will caramelize quicker. Once you added the tomato, and it will not caramelize as quick or as much anymore. So that's why we start off with that, and then meanwhile we just keep on cutting all the tomatoes. Now I just bought these tomatoes because, well, it is easier. You can use cherry tomatoes if you want. You can use pomodoros, meat tomatoes, any kind of tomatoes would be fine. I just went for these, and I will also use cherry tomatoes in the nacho plate itself. So these tomatoes are purely meant to make the salsa. Now here you're thinking, why am I, if this all goes into the pan anyway, why am I cutting out the hearts? Well, while this is going, I will be adding the meat part first. So these things will be going first in the pan because they already have less juice. So I can first get a nice deep rich flavor from them inside it, and then I will add these things, the hearts, so that they will release all the caramelized juices and make it more thick, and also makes it, it's like deglazing wine. So once you roast the onions really fast, you put the wine on top and everything gets loose and it will become a nice deep flavor to it. Those are enough tomatoes by itself. So now all I need is cutting all the tomatoes and take out all the hearts and juices. So as you can see now, the tomato skins are in and everything is nice and caramelizing, and onion is getting soft here, the tomato is getting more soft. And you can, if you want, you could increase the temperature or just let it go like this for a while so that all the juices of the tomato will get nicely infused in there. It just takes a lot more time, but the results are also a lot better. So it's a personal preference. If you don't have a lot of time, just whack it in. If you really don't have time for this, then you could also just skip this entire step. It's just something that I prefer. It layers the flavors of stuff really well. As you can see, these tomatoes are therefore super hard. It might take a while because basically what we're going to do is caramelize it and then boil all the tomatoes. So the longer it takes now, the better it is. The other step that you could do is put a lid on it, then you steam it because of this small hole, like that. You steam the tomatoes softer. However, that also means that all the condensed and the water and the juices that the tomato releases won't come free. So this is a step what we will do later. As you can see, the tomatoes are getting really soft. I can, crush them almost with this wooden spoon, which is what you would like. So now it's time to add the heart. So it will become more of a thick sauce, more combination between ketchup, tomato paste and tomato sauce. And that's kind of what you would like, because all these other tomatoes, like the ones you kept whole, these ones, and will still have a lot of liquid. So basically it will make it, the tomatoes that you left whole, or like did not roast, will give the juices, while this gives a lot of depth and intense flavor to it. Now for this part, it's more than fine to put the lid on and just let it steam and cook for a longer time. Basically now you can walk away for another 5-10 minutes, sit on the couch, read a book. Don't get too deep in it, just listen and keep an eye on it. But you can leave it alone for a while. You don't need to look at it or stir in it for every time at this point. it is so hot, it will keep reducing for a while, so you can just turn off the heat and let it be. Meanwhile, you can prepare the different sauce like guacamole, or maybe you can already just put it in a bowl, wait for a minute and enjoy your coffee. But we will continue in a little bit with the rest of it. Okay, so guacamole. I'm gonna use not fresh avocados for this. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not gonna do it. Mainly because it will keep the color nicer. That's literally the main reason. I will use all the other ingredients, however, I will do a little twist on it. I will use lemon acid powder and not a whole lot. Literally a knife point of that stuff to give the little bit freshness, flavor, the little sourness of the lemon. That it will not change its color quick either because there is no liquid and it's not as acidic as the other one. So all the other ingredients are the same. Avocados, salt, pepper, and that's it. Basically, that is it, at least for now. So what you do is you put it in a blender. 1 second. Yes, so you put it in the blender. And you just turn it on. So this guacamole will be more like an avocado puree instead of a guacamole. And I understand most people might hate me for this, but the flavor of this becomes so much pure. And because of the frozen avocado that you blitz frozen, recommend to do this frozen, but because they are softer, because they are defrosting, because of the heat of the machine, it will stay greener because it's still cold, yet it melts, so it will be soft and if you got troubles like these, like I have now, a little bit of water might help, but not too much. So what you do is take a little cup, and add a little bit of water to it, literally a little bit. Do know this is a blender. Once you do this with a food processor, it will go a lot easier. Also might help is if you do a bigger amount at once, but it comes out pretty smooth and you will see that in a bit. So what happens now is that I had a little struggle, but that being said, I use a blender instead of a food processor. Food processor makes this a lot easier because they don't require liquid or as much liquid. So if you have a very wet produce like salsa or something like that, making soups, then use a blender. But by any means, if you make like this smooth of an avocado puree or a guacamole or however you want to call it, please, like, use a food processor. It makes your life a lot easier. If you don't have it, I need to apologize, but it will be a little bit of a struggle if you try it in a blender. Okay, so up next we're gonna make the salsa. Start off, because we need liquid at the bottom, bit of this homemade mashy mash. Then you can add some tomatoes. Like I said, this might become a little bit problematic because it requires some liquid and I don't have that much liquid inside it. Food processor would be handy in this point, but I don't have it, so we will see how we will manage this. It should be possible, but it always helps a little bit more if you already smack down most of it. What you can also do to make it easier on yourself is when the tomatoes that you fried is still warm, put it over and you turn off the heat, put in the other tomatoes already as well. Because of the heat they will get a little bit softer, which will make your life a lot easier. If you are just realizing that now, just like me, sorry, I have to apologize, I did not realize that early enough that that could be a way. You can always smack it, as you can see, just crush it a little bit with the thing already in there. And so what we add now is a little bit of salt and pepper. And what you can add is a little bit lemon acid for the freshness in it whole. And if you want to add some liquid, in this case, add some olive oil or rapeseed oil or sunflower oil. It will make it also a bit thicker. It actually helps on the flavor as well. Now let's start cracking. Okay, so let's go. So the other thing is, as you might have seen already, is the color. The color won't be as dark as you might have used to for the store-bought tomato salsa. Well, that is for a reason. They also add tomato paste in this, which can be really good. But I kept it natural, and this is actually surprisingly good. I really enjoyed it, and well, I cannot refuse it, of course. Once the bag is open, as you heard, you gotta taste it as well with the dip. It's fresh tomato. It could use a little bit more, maybe a little bit extra, but I enjoy this. Could use some paprika in extra flavor if you would like that, but I'm satisfied with this. I can use this for a lot more things, like a caprese. It is a really nice, interesting base, and it makes it also very variant that allows me to do more with it. So, fill up one of my mason jars. No, sorry for that. Fill up my mason jars, and I will put this in the fridge. As you can see, this is still pretty watery, and you saw how less water we had it added. So you can even add tomato paste to make it thicker. For comparison, I got one jar of taco or like nacho sauce at home. You might see. But as I said as well, the flavor of this is all natural. No added sugars, no nothing. So this is a lot more healthy. But look at the color differences. It's way more dark. And tomato, onion, yeah, and then tomato paste and some tomato, what is it? passata. And if you reduce that, that will get a lot more interesting depth flavor. Now here is also paprika inside it and cayenne pepper, which is a little bit darker, 100%. But if you want a tomato salsa, which can be pretty easy and versatile on many things, like you can make a grilled cheese sandwich and you spread that one on it and you do just a few slices of mozzarella on it. You gotta make it a grilled cheese. Oh, you have a very fresh sauce on your hands here. And it's so easy, as you said. It's very basic. So, time to cool this down and then make the nacho plate.